Church. We're coming to you on a Monday this week. This is actually a pre-recorded message, a broadcast, so there won't be any chat, live chat going on. But you can still feel free to leave comments, like, share. Some sort of interaction with the video is appreciated. But the next couple of weeks may be a little bit more in flux as we kind of go into times where we're getting away to see family and friends. So we ask for your patience with all of those flexible times. But I did want to come to you tonight. I wanted to talk about something that's been that I've actually been noticing over, say, the last 10, 15 years. And this is something that's kind of it's really worked its way into all aspects of our culture. There used to be a group of Christians that would kind of talk about the entertainment industry and how Christianity wants no part of the entertainment industry, and then Christianity found a way to leverage certain aspects of that and actually spread the gospel through entertainment, be it music, movies, TV series, all of these things. There was different approaches taken, but there was actually something good that worked out of this. So I wanted to kind of talk about the good parts of that, and also the dangerous aspects of that. So I wanted to basically the title of this message is Casual Christianity, and it's basically what it is, and it's a warning to us. And I think that noticing this and being a witness to this trend in especially American society, not necessarily the Western society, but American society especially. I feel like and if you are a grounded Christian who is got a firm foundation, this is not the message for you or aimed at you, but this is something that I've noticed, especially voices that have a platform have kind of clung on to and even identified with. So I want to talk about the dangers of that and understand what it is. We've talked in the past about the social gospel and how that can be dangerous, and how that is something that is infected and infiltrated the church body, as it were. But it's also under basically started eating away at the foundations of those certain denominations that have allowed that stuff to come in. So, there is a danger here, and I want to talk about that. But our society is actually built on what is called Judeo-Christian principles. And you talk to any historian, you talk to anybody that knows the beginnings of America, even the beginnings of Great Britain, and what they're based off of, the laws of morality that they're based off of. Everything's based off of this Judeo-Christian foundation. And we enjoy the overall morality, prosperity, the judicial benefits of these understandings, as much as the neighborhood atheists hate it. They too benefit from the Judeo-Christian standards that this system is built on. So they will fight for those standards at all cost, while standing against the one who inspired them. And that's a lot of times when you see these man on the street or street preacher confrontations with atheists or agnostics or whoever. It usually devolves in okay, an argument of terms or whatever, but you can't get past, okay, well, our society was built on this, and that's what allows you to come out here and debate and all of this, and have this freedom of speech. It's based on Judeo-Christian principles, and there's usually just either an understanding, or there's a stalemate of stubbornness. So there's, there has to be an understanding of our society where our principles come from, but there also has to be an understanding of what fuels that, what's behind that, what's the foundation of that. The danger is not entirely the scenario that I laid out. It's more, this is a more sinister thing. I want to get past, the man on the street confronting the atheist or whatever. This is about the infiltration of the church. When I say casual Christianity, I don't mean, a wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean someone who thinks that they are where they are and don't realize that they don't have the strength, the foundation to weather what's coming, the storms that are coming. So we all know what a fair weather fan is. We understand that term, fair weather fan. If your team is red hot and they're going to the World Series or the Super Bowl, and you're on the bandwagon and you're cheering for them every game they play, and then the next year they go 1-16, or they win a few games out of 100 that they play, a fair weather fan will jump to another team. What's the hot team this week or this year or whatever. So a lot of the church that I'm speaking to here is the fair weather fan of Christianity. And so we're going to have some hard times. We've talked about this before. We're going to have some hard times, and in the majority of history, Christians have not been in a place of comfort. Christianity was something that had to be fought for. It had to be died for. I mean, people literally were hanging and about to be burned alive, and were told to just go against their faith, and they would not do that because they understood what that meant. They understood what they were standing for, and they understood the reality of it. So I want to talk a little bit about the casual Christian and what this means. So I know we've brought this, and I know Brother Richard has brought this verse up before, but I want to bring this up tonight. In Isaiah 4, chapter 4, and this is in the Amplified, starting verse 1. It says, "And in that day 7 women will take hold of one man, saying, We will eat our own food and wear and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our shame of being unmarried. In that day the branch of the Lord will be splendid and glorious, and the fruit of the land will be excellent and lovely to those of Israel who have survived. It will come to pass that he who is left in Zion and remains in Jerusalem will be called holy, set apart for God, everyone who is recorded for eternal life in Jerusalem. When the Lord has washed away the moral filth of the daughters of Zion, and has cleansed the bloodstains of Jerusalem from her midst by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning, then the Lord will create over the entire site of Mount Zion and over her assemblies a cloud by day, smoke, and the brightness of a flaming fire by night. For over all the glory and brilliance will be a canopy, a defense, a covering of his divine love and protection, and there will be a pavilion for shade from the heat of the day, and a refuge and a shelter from the storm and the rain." Now, I want to point out a few things here. Going back to the previous slide, I highlighted this part here, and that's why I wanted to pull this out in the Amplified. We all know, the verbiage that it uses in the King James, but this is talking about basically wanting to wear the label, but still do our own things, still do it our way. I think Burger King's slogan used to say, have it your way, where they treat you like a king. You're supposed to have it your way. You're the king. Now, what it's saying here is, we want to do our own thing. We want to wear our own clothing and our own, drink our own food and our own water and whatever. But only let us be called by your name. Let us wear the label. Let us wear the basically the namesake, so that we can be seen as genuine. Now here it says, take away our shame, and then it says of being unmarried. And I thought it was very interesting in the Amplified when it's saying this. It's talking about 7 women. It's using kind of a metaphor here of 7 women, um, but it's talking about them wanting this name so that they can have their shame taken away of being unmarried. And we all know that this relationship that we come into, this covenant relationship that we come into when we submit and become a Christian, this is a marriage vow. It's like a marital relationship. This is a very different way than I've really looked at this before. But it's these women in this example wanting to take the name of Christ. It's a picture of us wanting to take the name of Christ, but not wanting to walk that life out. And so that's exactly why I called this message, and it may offend some people, because some people are like, well, it's not, you don't have to be law, law, follow the restrictions of the Mosaic law or whatever. And I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is saying, okay, yeah, I'm a Christian. I believe that God's real, and then you live throughout the week as if He's not. And but you want that name, you want that. And I should have brought some numbers. I've done this in the past where I brought up how many Americans identify as Christians, and then how many of those Christians actually believe a biblical worldview, which would be, it would be impossible to be an authentic, true Christian if you don't have the biblical worldview that goes along with it. You're basically just a nominal Christian, a Christian by name only. So what I'm talking about here is something that's very serious, because we have a lot of big influential voices in our space now. I mean, we have, anybody can be an influential voice. Put it out there. You've got social media, which has taken the world by storm. You used to have to have some kind of a following. You used to have to be, a famous musical artist or a famous actor or actress to have this following. Now, today we have YouTube, and we have all of these things, which are great tools, but it also allows anybody to have a megaphone. And then you start having, these people, okay, well, I'm following this person, so I want to be like them, and I want to do the things they do, and I want to be like them, and so you have these influencers, which, oddly enough, if you ask any middle school, high school student, what they want to be when they grow up. Now, you used to get answers like, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a biologist or a marine, but I want to go out on the ships and dive deep in the ocean, or all these adventurous things. If you ask them the predominant field that these kids that are coming up in this generation, they're wanting to be influencers. They see that, hey, I can make some money like this person, or that person gets a million views or whatever. They want to be an influencer. Now, it's as unrealistic as it is, because there's only a certain 0.001% of people that actually are able to make that happen and to get that kind of return on this. The draw is there. What that says is the influencers hold the power, and they hold the sway of a culture. So we understand that voices can shift generations. And so, and I recently seen this interview with a musical artist, a Christian music artist, and I'll just go ahead and say the name, Lauren Daigle. And she said that at one point she had a musical or a music executive come up to her and said, you're a superstar. Why do you have to be a Christian? You know, Obviously this was showing that, okay, well, for one, the music executive thought that this was, something to identify with the people with. Okay, well, I'm a country star. I drive a truck. I do this. I can identify with him because I drive a truck too. No, this music executive thought, well, she's just doing this because she wants to have that following. Not understanding that this Christian walk is supposed to be a lifestyle. It is supposed to be something that guides your step every day. So there was a big misconception there. People come out and will say this just because they want to draw a certain crowd. Pol- uh, Political pundits do this all the time, or political office seekers will do this all the time. They'll speak to the crowd. They'll change their message to speak to the current crowd that they're in front of. Several years ago, Christian content, music, movies, big name speakers, they started gaining traction. Large media organizations like Sony Pictures, they started funding Christian content, the movies and the music, and started seeing a pretty good returns, and so they're thinking in dollars. This created created movie series, created TV series, a new popularity of Christian themed music. Christians celebrated this trend, as we should. Christians should celebrate any time that the gospel's getting out. And but Christians, however, this trend solidified a track of Christianity, and I started seeing this kind of happen. I didn't really, I saw it here and there, and I kind of thought, okay, well, at least this person, is standing up. But it created this track of Christianity that has no roots, no foundation, no determination to stand on a foundation that was never there. But the danger of this is not, it's not really immediately apparent. It's not something that's going to present itself immediately, and on the surface it's a wonderful thing, and I was cheering along as well, because like I said, anybody that's going down this road, anybody that's wanting to seek change and truth, we should be a cheerleader for that, but the problem is when Christianity becomes less and less popular and eventually sparks hatred because of affiliations or whatever's going on in the world, or just becomes unpopular because of another religious view becomes more popular, then those people start to fall away. And I started to see this several years ago when there was multiple Christian artists, music artists, that just turned their backs on Christianity and walked off the stage. And so many people were shattered, and so many people that had lifted these people up and put them on a podium, a pedestal, started falling away too. And I saw the dangers of this casual Christianity, that people were following this person and claiming to be a Christian because their idol claimed to be a Christian, and that idol fell. That idol, made some wrong decisions and turned their back. And so then it caused all these thousands or whatever people to do the same thing because the order was incorrect. And now here in the last several years, I've seen more of a politicization of casual Christianity. So you've had the people put up on the pedestal, these artists and actors and whatever, and start to follow their every lead and their every move. Well, now we have this thing of this hyper politicalization of casual Christianity that's in politics, and I've started to see this problem. Now, I really, we should always pray for our leaders. We should always pray for those who are in positions of power in government, over military or whatever aspect. We should always pray for those people because they have a lot of hard decisions to make. So it's not always apparent what the correct decision is. It's not always apparent that they're making the right decision. But I've seen several times in the past where things have happened and it can't be explained other than God wanted it to happen. He wanted us to go down this path. And so I've seen the scales removed from eyes with a pandemic. I've seen things happen and decisions be made and changed on a dime because of certain moves of the Spirit. But I've also seen where Christianity has been used as a club or a piece of leverage to cause masses of people to move in a certain way in lockstep. And so this is, with the current political situation that we have and whatever's going on and whatever behind the scenes, I talked last time about this whole alien disclosure or whatever is going on. And the White House actually put up a website saying, they walk among us. That was the big thing. You click on it and it's talking about illegal immigration or illegal aliens, not the aliens that everybody else was talking about. So what I'm talking about here is this almost being sucked in to follow a certain narrative and labeling that, well, this is what Christians would do, or this is, the bandwagon tactic. So we have to be very careful because we should have no earthly idols. Our only head of our church body is Christ. So we should be following Him alone and following what His Word says, and aligning that with our lives, aligning our lives with what He has said in His Word, and what the Spirit is saying, moving to speak to us. So we have to be very careful. I want to go ahead and not get stuck on that so much, but in Acts, now, like I said, there's a lot of people that are claiming to have this label now, and it can be authentic. I don't know the hearts of men. I don't pretend to have any insight in that. All I'm saying is just make sure that you're following Christ and not the person that you've put on a pedestal. Acts 10 verse 34, it says, "Then Peter opened his mouth and said, 'Of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, but in every nation that he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him.'" Meaning that it doesn't matter what your status is. God doesn't care what your status is in this world, or what the world says you are, or what you're known for in the world. But He does care what you are doing with what He has given to you. So, you can go back and say, these influencers. Now, I know some influencers that are they're very spiritual, and I know some that are very grounded, and they try their best to lead people in truth. And I know some that are very spiritual, and they don't have a good foundation. They don't have a very solid foundation, and unfortunately, they lead people astray. I've heard some terrible teachings on the way you should walk as a Christian from people who want to be in the front of that line. They want to lead people and they want to sway people in the right way. They just don't have the foundation, and it's a very dangerous thing, because they are in effect a false prophet and a teacher, but they will be held to a higher standard. So we have to be careful with what we say. It has to be coming from a biblical perspective and a biblical foundation. But He doesn't care what your status is. You can have 3 million followers or whatever on earth, but are you speaking truth? Are you leading people in the truth? As for those who are name only Christians or outright against Christianity, And I want to get this, make this clear. I'm not railing against pastors who have a large following online. I know that there are some wonderful pastors that have been online for 15, 20 years, and they've been putting their videos out, and they've been, their views may have changed, their interpretations may have changed a little bit along the way, but all along they've been seeking the truth. And that's what we should be celebrating, those who are out there seeking the truth. What I'm talking about is people who are influencers, that they just want the influencer title. They want the people's eyes on them, so they're going to say what they're going to say, and they're going to lead people astray because they just want the clicks. So we have a mandate here to discern what we're seeing. But those who are out there, reading scripture on their podcasts or their YouTube videos or whatever, but they really don't exactly know the foundations of it, or the complete. God can still speak through that. So I'm not taking anything away from this. I'm just saying we need to have a spirit of discernment when we encounter this. In Philippians 1, and I don't think that I have this one up here, but in Philippians 1:15, or Philippians chapter 1, verse 15, it says, "Some indeed preach Christ, even of envy and strife, and some also of good will. The one preach Christ of contention, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bonds, but the other of love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel. What then? Notwithstanding every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached. And I therein do rejoice, yea, and will rejoice." So even though you have those out here who are even against the teachings of Christ, I've seen debates that have went basically horrible for the Christian who was debating an atheist or agnostic or whoever, or a Christian debating a Muslim, and they didn't have the best take on it. The Christian was not a good debater, but he did lay the truths out, even though he didn't do it at the right time, or something was wrong with the presentation, but at least the truth got out. And that's what Paul's saying here. He's saying, even those who are preaching against what I'm saying, at least Christ is being preached. And so we should celebrate that as he rejoices. He said, "I rejoice," in that even though it's not exactly positive, at least Christ is being preached. So there's always a positive in this. Going on to Galatians chapter 6, verse 7, "Do not be deceived, God is not mocked. He will not allow himself to be ridiculed, nor treated with contempt, nor allow his precepts to be scornfully set aside. For whatever a man sows, this and this only is what he will reap. For the one who sows to his flesh, his sinful capacity, his worldliness, his disgraceful impulses will reap from the flesh ruin and destruction, but the one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life." So in whatever is being said out there, whatever is being portrayed, whatever is not being interpreted correctly, God's not he's not mocked, he's not deceived. There's no failings here. He's not going to allow himself to be ridiculed. And his truths are not going to be set aside. All this stuff is still here. That all of his truth is still present. So what does this mean? And how can we avoid this casual Christianity? And I really, and I've talked about this several times. I remember back when COVID was kind of in the first few months of it especially, and I remember when several churches closed their doors to the public. They started doing, oh, we got this nice online thing, and we can reach through YouTube or reach through Facebook. And I remember this broadcast actually started up. I believe it was after COVID actually. It was about a year after COVID, and I remember before then we were putting our messages, our sermons from Sunday mornings online, so we had an online presence, and we could have closed the church, the little church that we had. We could have closed it, and we could have said, watch our messages online, or Sunday morning services online, and we could have done stuff like that. But we chose not to be afraid. We chose to keep the doors open. Personally, I felt like the enemy was kind of laughing at those who thought, well, we need to close the church down, and so I thought, okay, this is a good thing though, because people are still watching. You have more people watch the church service from home than would actually attend in the first place. So I thought, well, maybe there's a positive here. And then I heard about people who would pop a bunch of popcorn or get their breakfast together, and they would eat breakfast or eat popcorn while they're watching the church service play out on their TV or on their laptop or whatever. And I thought, okay, this is what casual Christianity looks like. It's become entertainment, and it's very unfortunate. It's very dangerous for Christianity to become entertainment. And so, talking about at the beginning, Christianity did not have a place in entertainment, which is probably by design because it doesn't entertain. But when you have movies that point to the gospel, or Christian artists, musical artists that sing verses of scripture in their songs, I believe that that's a little bit different than this Christianity becoming entertainment, and so I started seeing a real problem there. And after everyone opened their doors back up, attendance dropped. So you didn't have the fellowship that you had before. You had people watching, and they got used to watching online, so they didn't attend in person anymore. And so I think that there's a setup here for a weakened body, a weakened church body. When we talk about the awe-inspiring presence of God, and we have to understand that as a church body, when we come together and when we worship, this is a laying down, a complete surrender, sacrificing your life to come into a praise and worship of your God. And when we understand the magnitude of that, which we can't fully grasp it right now, we can't fully grasp it. If we try to, we would fall over dead, because the magnitude of who God is so completely outside of our realm of thinking. I want to kind of go through some examples here of those who had this sudden realization of the majesty of God. So I'm going to go through a few verses here. Abraham, Genesis 17:3, and Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, and I'm not going to go through a bunch of this. What I'm focused on here is how these people interacted with God and the similarities of what happened. So we got Abraham. Going to go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel, as the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud of the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of God. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Going on, Jesus. And when he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. Paul, Acts 9, and he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And then the last example that I've got here is John in Revelation. 11:16. And the 24 elders which sat before God on their seats fell upon their faces and worshipped God. Now, there's, if you noticed a similarity here of what happened uh, in the interaction with God. There's a Greek term called prosokinesis. Hopefully, I'm saying that correct. But it is the practice involved bowing so low that one's face touched the ground, or lying entirely flat with arms and legs outstretched, to demonstrate ultimate submission, reverence, and vassalage. Now, this is what we're missing in the church, and this is what casual Christianity can't comprehend. This is when God shows up, you fall to your face, not because you want to, but because you have to. You in that instance, you realize the reality of who God is and how much you are lacking. So this is what Christianity today, in some aspects, is missing. The glory of God that comes in is a judgment and a protection at the same time. It's offensive and defensive. We've heard of several instances here in our society in the past, especially the past several years, of the gospel being offensive. Well, the gospel is we shouldn't allow people. And Canada's actually banned some of this. Just our neighbors to the north, Canada has banned some of this. Great Britain has banned some of this. Well, we can't go outside and preach the gospel in the streets because it may be offensive to people. Look, when the glory of God shows up, you are either going to bow. You're gonna bow willingly, or you are going to fall on your face. A true surrender to God's will, submits your all to His all. Casual Christianity preaches an opposing mandate. It teaches you that you can use the label for gain, I just want the name, please, and discard it when it works against you. Now, this happens all the time, when people claim to be a Christian and then it becomes not so popular, so then they fall away, which we've seen several big names in the past few years fall away or be carried away by their undisclosed sin. So we've seen this happen in the past few years, especially. In these examples, the subjects understood the magnitude and majesty, and the subject in the examples that we just went through. The subjects of those examples understood the magnitude and the majesty of God and their place in respect to Him, and that's what we miss a lot of times is the grandeur that He is. And it got me to thinking about when we look into space, you take a telescope, or you see the Hubble telescope or the James Webb telescope in space, in orbit, and you see the pictures that they send back of the galaxies, the nebula, the supernova remnant, and you see all that coming back, and you're like, wow, the immense distances that this is taking place in. It's hard for us to wrap our heads around. And we think, okay, well, this is just a creation of God. This is not God Himself. How much more splendid and magnificent, and how much bigger is God than this? We can't even wrap our heads around the distances that we see in the night sky. How much more? So I want to bring up Psalm 19, verse 1 in the Amplified. Says, the heavens are telling of the glory of God, and the expanse of heaven is declaring the work of His hands. This whole thing about UFOs and aliens coming from space and all this kind of stuff that's going around in the news and in the media now. don't listen to all of it, because a purpose for each of God's creation. God created us to worship Him. We yearn for that relationship. Some of us look in the wrong place for it, but we yearn for that relationship with our God. He created the heavens for times, like a timepiece, for determining times and seasons and changes. So we can read the heavens like a clock, but they're not full of green men that are coming to visit us. Going on to Philippians 2, verse 10, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So this is talking about basically every knee is going to bow at some point. When He returns, everything changes. Your knee's either going to bow or it's going to be bowed for you. You know, there's going to be an end of this opportunistic time, and a time of when that standard comes into full effect and you have nowhere to hide. I am undone. Basically, being in the presence of God is like being standing before His throne, not having a place to hide, and not being able to shuffle things away in your mind and cloud things. Everything's going to be open and clear, and you're going to be revealed to the Almighty God. So there's not going to be any of these playing of games. So the real warning that I want to put out there for this casual Christianity and this topic tonight is, when we walk this Christian walk, we need to have a foundation. We need to be in it. We need to be in it 100%. We need to be in it all in all. That means every aspect of our life needs to be guided by what He says in His Word, what He speaks to us through His Spirit. If we claim to be Christian, we should be walking this out daily. We shouldn't have to, these 5 days I'm going to turn this mode off, and I'm going to turn on this day, I'm going to turn this off. Wednesday night, I got to turn it on again. And we can't compartmentalize this. This is an important aspect of our Christian walk. It has to be a full surrender. It has to be a complete submission. There has to be humility in our Christian walk. There can't be this puffed upness, this pridefulness. There's, and I've seen it in people before, where they will puff themselves up, and they will, listen to me, and then when something happens, when something's uncovered of them, they fall and they bring a bunch of people with them, and then their first thing is, well, how soon can I get back into that position? I want to be back on the top again. How soon can I? Instead of worrying so much about being back on the top, at those times, those people need to be worried about, okay, I need to fully give this over. I fully need to release this. So we see that too. So it's just a warning to all of us, really, to constantly be looking at ourselves and self-reflection in our daily walk. Where are we at? What is He wanting me to do today? What other areas of my life do I need to shine a light on here and just submit and give that over? Because we can't just compartmentalize all these things. So I wanted to bring that to you tonight. I wanted to just be vigilant. Be vigilant in your Christian walk. Always ask yourself, where am I at with God in my walk? Where am I at in this relationship? I want more closeness. I want more fellowship. I want more in my prayer life. I want more of this God that I follow, that I say that I worship. I want more, and that cry from your heart will will instigate His pouring out to you. So I just encourage you in that, and like I said, the next couple of weeks may be a little bit in flux of when and how we get these broadcasts out. So I really ask for your patience. I believe that after this week, we'll be gone this coming week, and then the next week, Brother Richard, I believe they're going to be gone. So you may get 2 messages from me or 2 broadcasts from me, or who knows how we're going to do that. So just be patient with us, and we will, if not see you next week, we'll see you the week after. So we just encourage you. We pray for you. We ask that you pray for us. You pray for the broadcast. We ask that you would just interact. Like I said, give us a comment, give us a like or a share or something on these broadcasts, because I believe that that the time is getting near where we have to know where our foundation is, and we have to understand where we're standing and why we're standing. And not just I'm standing right here, this is where I'm standing, but why we're standing there. What's our determination, and where is our reality at? So so with that, I'm going to end tonight's broadcast, and I just pray that you have a good week.